That was my last track. I have a confession, but first, the track. I called it An Immigrant's Christmas. I wrote it because of the change of emotions that I began to feel towards Christmas. Christmas used to be my favorite holiday. Two people made it very special for me as a child. The first was my dad. That man deserves a separate piece. I'm not going to talk about him here. The other man is a man we call Daddy G. Daddy G was one of the men that God used to create a deep desire in me to aim at being a good man. He took life so simple. He sat with me and was comfortable just being around me, and made me comfortable being around him. He was empathetic, he was kind, he was passionate, he was different, and that meant a lot. He loved gari and fried fish, so he gave me lots of fried fish. So I loved him even more. He loved newspapers. He always had the latest, so he sparked a desire in me to read them, and taught me by action that staying current was important. He was handsome. He went into advertising and modeling. I know I'm not as handsome as he was, but I've bagged a few good gigs too. Daddy G had a ritual of distributing firecracker bangers. We call them knockout. To everybody, mostly the children in the neighborhood, and we would have a banger battle in the compound. He answered my questions about cars. He showed me the radiator and other parts of his Renault car, or as the French will call it, Honda. At some point, he had a small snail garden, and we would occasionally care for them together. Daddy G was different. He was imperfect, but was okay with that, and that taught me that goodness and peace of mind is as important as ambition and drive. He taught me that being comfortable in your own skin was as important as making your life count. I lost my dad when I was 9, but God was intentional about bringing men my way to mentor me. Some were fair and kind, others were not. But they all played a role in the man I am aspiring to be, and the kind of man I hope not to be. Daddy G was kind and fair. Daddy G passed away this year. I cried like a child. I felt like a failure. I thought I was going to be a bigger artist and creator before he passed. I wanted to honor him. I have a thing for people thinking I have forgotten them and then pulling out the details of our connection. This one played back on me in a different way. Kind of like I got a checkmate against me. Lesson learned. When I moved to Romania, my love for Christmas dwindled because I never went home. The hostels were empty and I had friends, but I am also a private person. Aside from church, my business and school, I didn't allow myself certain liberties. And I also am not much of a party person, so my relationships are what gives me joy. I found myself envying those who had their families around and could afford to go back as frequently as they wanted to. I don't say this to elicit compassion. I say it to challenge you to be aware, be more aware and warm towards immigrants around you in festive seasons. A little warmth can actually mean a lot. Lastly, this is to everyone who's a Daddy G to someone. If you're a Daddy G to someone, you mean more than you actually know. Thank you, Daddy Abayomi Garuba. You are an extension of Daddy God to me.